So joining us on the line is Thomas Smith, the host of Serious Inquiries Only and Opening Argument. He's a snappy dresser and a snazzy dancer. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us at Left of the Valley.
Those last things are definitely not true.
Don't feel too bad. I use that on everybody that we interview.
Okay. Well, then, all right. Then I'll just blend in with everyone else. Then. I'll just
you'll set
pretend I'm
apart.
also all those things.
Thomas, you've made quite a name for yourself down south in the States. Up here in Canada, you might not be as well known. Would you be so kind to give us a Reader's Digest version of who Thomas Smith is?
I don't know. You guys got a lot of shitlords up there. I feel like I'm well known among the shitlord Canadian community.
Oh, really?
Really?
You got like a shitlord Magic player who was banned for life for being a shitlord. You got some people. But anyway, what was the question?
Hold on a sec. Hold on. Let's maybe explain to some of our audience that might not know. What do you mean by shitlord? Because that's a fairly new term to me too. Explain
really?
That. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad that's a new term, but it's I don't know who came up with it, but the shitlords appropriated it eventually. I don't know if it was originally used as an insult or not, but they call themselves shitlords because it's this online attitude that nothing is kind of too mean or too horrible to say online. You can just say all the worst things you want to people, and it's funny. And it's a attitude that has unfortunately infiltrated the atheist movement, and
you think Canadians are doing this?
There are some. It's weird. I don't know. It seems to be.
Weird. It's how we get our anger out sometimes. It also helps that most people that do it are doing it anonymously, so you don't have that feeling of this is going to have repercussions on my own life.
Right.
Fair enough. So let's get back to you guys. So give us a brief introduction as to who Thomas Smith is, if you'd be so kind, sir.
Oh, I'm a podcaster, and I'm a podcaster who was somehow lucky enough to be able to do it for my job. I got into it in 2010, reading the Bible on a podcast and going through it, and eventually I branched off to other stuff, and I just every day I feel like my luck's gonna run out and everyone's gonna be like, all right, we're done. we're done listening to your podcast. But for now, it's holding out despite Patreon's best efforts.
Yep.
Still able to do it for a living. So it's amazing. But I've got Opening Arguments. It's a show with Andrew Torres, a lawyer that I think has been really helpful in today's topsy-turvy world of just telling us what exactly can happen legally and can't, and then things that shouldn't happen that just do because no one does anything about it. That's the biggest one these days. That's me, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had the pleasure of having Andrew on the show about a month ago.
Yeah,
he was quite the gentleman.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
he was quite the gentleman. So what were the origins of the show, Serious Inquiries Only and Opening Arguments? How did you start that? What was you saw the need for that?
No, there's definitely no need for it. But there's the world. I looked at the world and I said it needs another podcast. That's what it needs. That was more along the lines of, so I had the Bible show, and I was just so tired of being limited to the Bible because it's so bad. And it's so boring and long.
Yep.
And
I think I made it to Ruth listening to that podcast, and I just kind of gave up.
I don't recommend it. Like, I'll have people talk like, I just listened to the whole thing. I'm like, why did you do that? Like, I never told anyone to listen to it. Like, I started it because the beginning, it's all zany. It's it's Adam and Eve, and that's
that's about as far as you should go with it too.
You lost
that 3 sentences. Like, it's nothing. People don't realize that if they haven't read it. But so then after all that wacky stuff that's so funny, that was like 2 episodes, and then it's just garbage. And but I made a commitment and I eventually followed through on it. But again, I don't recommend anyone listen to it. Don't listen to that show. And I started a new show at a certain point called Atheistically Speaking, because I just wanted to have just to be able to talk about whatever I wanted, and to be able to comment on stuff on, either it meant to be like a meta atheism thing, which is like find stuff that atheists kind of disagree with each other, and talk about it, have those debates. And eventually I didn't want to have atheism in the name anymore, because I had some people turn me down as guests that would have been really good guests. And frankly, I wasn't really that interested in talking about atheism as much, because there's just a lot more going on these days. And I don't know, I wanted to talk about anything. I did not want to talk about it, but I wanted to be able to talk about whatever I want. And then I started going through puberty and my voice started cracking. So that had vast implications on my podcasting career. But yeah. So no, I changed it to Serious Inquiries Only. And I'm just doing, news, politics, commentary, philosophy, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. You seem to have developed quite a reputation as an excellent interviewer, by the way. Do you have any formal training in that, or that's just natural talent?
I think that's just, I don't know what that is, because I don't really think that's true. I think that I had some people say that, and then it became a meme, and then other people like saying it. So I think that's more.
Oh, I like that. That works.
Well, yeah, I don't know who thought of that. I've had my moments, but I would say that the biggest, I guess, if I were to try to give any sort of advice, it would be that the only way to do a good interview is to be interested and curious about what you're interviewing. If you're interviewing someone on a book or so, make sure you. It's impossible to read every single book of everyone that you do, but make sure you know enough to think of questions that that listeners would have, or maybe if they, even better yet, ones that they wouldn't necessarily think of, but that they would find interesting. I don't know that I ever do that, but that's certainly a goal. But no, I don't know. I think that not every interview is gold. Like it's not as though. There's sometimes where the interviewee, it doesn't always work out, and you have to be ready for that, and you have to try to drive it. You can't. I don't know. That's just how I feel. Other people could take a different tact, where if their interviewee sucks, you just blame them and kind of just stop the interview. I want no offense if you guys want to do that with me. That's okay.
No, not at all. But I must say, for a gentleman that has a reputation of being a very good interviewer with no feet, I think you're doing a fantastic job.
I don't know how that factors in. Do most interviewers use their feet a lot? Is that a...
No, but I mean, hey, we like to support people that in difficult situations too. So something a bit more serious. Thomas, you sort of have your finger on the pulse of a lot of things that happens in the United States. What do you feel the status of atheism is right now in your country?
I feel like there are a lot of people who talk about the nuns, the NONEs are bigger than ever. Mm-hmm. And that might be true, but I actually don't necessarily think that means they're atheists. I think that people are walking away from organized religion, but I actually think I just saw a poll yesterday. I think that still only 8% of people here will actually say, it was like 8 or 9%, will actually say they don't believe in God. Like everybody else is like, well, I believe in something, but I just don't want to go to church. They're just like lazy, which I think is almost worse. Like if you really do believe in it, aren't you just, if you don't go to church, you're just lazy and you're wrong about like.
Yeah.
I feel like if you believe in it, you should definitely go. But no, I think that for me, it's kind of taken a back seat because what I see is the biggest problem right now. And I used to think that, religion, God versus atheism, all that was a very critical and important divide. But I think the bigger divide is there are people who just do not have a good epistemology in terms of where they're getting their facts from. They don't have a good filter. They don't have good methodology. There is such a huge problem of fake news, and it crosses over religion.
Yeah.
There are plenty of atheists who are right there. It's, I've battled a few of them. There are plenty of atheists who are right there, buying into Russian fake news, buying into Trump's fake news, buying into all this stuff. And I think that's a bigger problem. Like I have way more in common right now with a Christian Republican who is a never Trumper than I do with, Carl Sargon of Akkad. I don't care that he might be an atheist. It's the things he believes and the things he spouts are far more harmful, I think, than most forms of Christianity. Of course, I'm still against, the child abusey, terrible nonsense versions of religion. But if religion is just kind of a background thing in someone's life, that's, to me, less important than if they're actively spreading just complete conspiracy theory nonsense online. I think that's having a huge impact on our politics and society here.
Yeah, especially in view of the political situation in the U.S. I mean, for a while there, it seemed that just before the election with Trump, it seemed like the evangelical voice was actually shutting down, and all of a sudden with Trump, there was a resurgence of it.
That's true. I think that's worth pointing out. You're right. I don't give them enough shit for that. I should give them more shit for that. They very just hypocritically have decided that like Trump is their guy. And have you seen the polls that were like in 2014, the question of, is it okay to elect someone that, might have questionable character or something like that, or might have done things, but but can they still do their job? And evangelicals were like, 10%. And then 2016, when Trump was being elected, it shot up to like 70%. It's just
wow.
It's just ridiculous change you've ever seen. Just an absolute, hypocritical just turn. Oh no, now it's fine. Now it's fine to elect someone who has a total. Yeah, it's questionable moral judgment, because they were so used to being the holier than thou. We can't elect anyone because they're so used to like only someone who professes deep Christianity and sticks to moral value and all that. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened, but with Trump, it was just like, no, never mind, it's fine. We can do it. We can do whatever we want. We can elect anyone. Doesn't matter. Just instantly. So it is true that that is incredibly hypocritical, and they really need to get shit every day for that.
I just want to change
She's a huge fan, by the way.
I am a very big fan.
And one of your Patreon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. With the different podcasts you do, I know one of the things that is a common episode, that you do is like deep dives into things. And I was really curious, what's your favorite like deep dive that you've done so far?
Oh man, I really loved going over the Trump's accomplishments. That was a three-parter. I mean,
that must have been a short episode.
More recent. What's that?
That must have been a short episode.
No, very satirical.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. It was a long episode because there were like 27 or 8 claims, and so I did them in about 3 parts, and it was so great because these people, who are making these claims, they're totally, like the Republicans especially the Trump Republicans in this country, they're all about like, oh, the pussification of this country.
Yep.
They have accomplishments listed like, well, he mentioned that he was talking about changing NAFTA. It's like, that's your accomplishment? He like talked with someone about something? Like they would ever count that as an accomplishment for Obama. Or oh, well,
could you imagine going through Obama's 8 years and having the same criteria and like counting how many accomplishments Obama did?
That's a good point. Yeah, I should have. That's an excellent point. Yeah, it would have been. I could have covered like a month, and he would have more. Yeah.
So I maybe you'll agree with me or disagree with me. As a Canadian, We always have an eye on what goes on in the States. Seems to me there was a time where the church and its influence was one of those things that they kept to the holier than thou people that were maybe unattainable, unrealistically unattainable, until that new conservative movement that came in with Ronald Reagan. And then the church went full hypocrisy. Now it was just about getting in there with power absolutely no matter what. Do you feel that was the same? Do you concur with my analysis on this, or do you think?
Well, I don't know. I wasn't around back then, so I don't have a good sense of how the church interacted. I'm trying to think. How did the church interact with? Well, I mean, let's see. There was the whole JFK. Can he still do his job while being Catholic. A Catholic thing? Mm-hmm. There was the whole. I think that. I mean, it really. I'm sure it would have had something to do with the Southern strategy because before that whole mess, it wasn't so ideologically defined. I mean, there's still to this day, I mean, it's like I said a minute ago, it's still only 89% of people who say they don't believe in God. So, yeah. I mean, both sides are religious. Like Democrats are religious. They're just usually a different kind. They're just usually like, oh, yeah, I'm Christian, but I don't really care what anyone does. And Republicans tend to be the, I'm Christian and you can't have abortion and you can't do this and you can't do that. And also I want to be able to deny service to anyone who disagrees with me and all this just totally un-American and anti-freedom stuff. But I'm not sure when that began to really coalesce. I think it's just gotten worse and worse as Fox News came about in the early to mid 90s. I think that was what,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a genesis, but I think it's just made it worse and worse because it's just allowed these people to kind of coalesce and reinforce and echo their own ridiculous things. And it's just this toxic soup.
Yeah. I think the noticeable coalescence was when Newt Gingrich came in with the contract with America. And I think that emboldened a lot of Christians to be able to voice their politics and religion as though they were fused. And from that, then the Tea Party coming out of that movement, and then I'm trying to think of the word, but the acceptance by a lot of people for that point of view, it just grew from that. But personally, right or wrong, I just tend to feel that contract with America was probably a defining moment in conservative. Do you
I think you're totally right.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're the guest.
I didn't hear the last part, but I think you're totally right. And that was more as a result of conservative radio because it predated Fox News, Fox News kind of launched right after that.
I think when Rush Limbaugh began to be on radio, and Roger Ailes took over his management and getting into a lot of the cities where they had conservative radio and they didn't have any liberal radio to combat it. I think the rise of Rush Limbaugh also had a lot to do, although he's not overtly evangelical and religious, but his views kind of dovetailed into a lot of what his listeners wanted to believe and hear at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I think he had a big part in it, and now we've gotten. I think it's ever since then. So that would have been 1994 when the Republicans, had that bloodbath, and I feel like ever since then, that's the new normal. Like 2 years into an administration, the other party just decimates the election, just totally takes over again. And it really makes me nervous because I feel like that is going to happen. Excuse me. I feel like that is going to happen in 2018. I think there is going to be a resurgence in the Democratic Party. Absolutely. But then I worry, like, well, then is it just going to be the next thing? It's just going to be we get a Democrat in office in the presidency in, I think 2020 it will happen, but say we do that, will it just be the same thing where then, you know, Democrats kind of relax and then Republicans take everything back again in 2022, and we just have to keep doing this over and over and over? Because with the exception of, it didn't happen in Bush's first term because I think of 9/11 and, you know, having the benefit of being at war and being, you know, it took a little while, but eventually, Democrats just totally wiped everything out later in like I think 2006. And I just wonder though, like, is that the pattern, and is it just a result of being so wildly opposed to each other, like so partisan that it just looks like you win a presidency, you know, like one party wins the presidency, then they feel like, okay, well, we've killed the other party. And they sort of relax a little bit because it's all on a razor's edge. I mean, these elections are all very close. And so they relax a little bit. And then the other party, because, again, of this wild animosity, they feel like, okay, we're going to die because of the, you know, like this president, which I think is very justifiable right now. But Republicans feel that same way, and they were wrong. Don't get me wrong. They were wrong when they felt that way about Obama. But I just worry that is the new normal now. It's just going to be going to be election and then backlash and then backlash to the backlash and then backlash. Like, it just feels
extreme polarization. Here in Canada, that's what happens all the time. So I just figured that was the norm anyway.
Well, there are times I really get depressed about it, but there are times I have some optimism because of what's happening with women being able to achieve more and get elected, and with the younger generation coming up to take the place of all of the old white guys who have been in control for such a long time on both sides. So I feel that and with the people who were for Bernie Sanders and who feel as though they want a more democratic government where people on both sides have a chance to form coalitions and to get things done. So I have some hope that between the women and those of the younger generation, that maybe things will start to improve, but it'll be a long haul. I'm saying over maybe 10 years, you know, it might be a better government, but no telling. It just depends on how much damage is done, you know, at the end of Trump's term and what it takes to repair.
How much damage has been done?
Yeah,
a lot.
So I guess the question I should ask is, when it comes to the political status right now in the States, of course, and us being atheists, when you look at the future, how optimistic are you about the future of atheism in the States?
Atheism, I don't. I mean, I guess you'd have to define optimism. You know, like, what is an optimistic outlook? I anticipate more and more people not being not just becoming nuns, like not caring about organized religion, because organized religion is, frankly, it's really boring, and in today's world, there's just so much more going on. I think that it made sense back in the day where it's like, well, if you're not in church, then you're plowing things and doing all that. But I think nowadays it's like people just don't want to go to church.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that, I'm not one of those people, one of those atheists who think that, oh, we'll get rid of it. Like we'll, or even significantly. I think that for my entire lifetime, the majority of people are going to be religious, or at least going to believe in God in this country. And who knows? Like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that'll change. But that's what I feel. But I don't know that. I think that atheism. The reason I care more about politics right now is what really matters is, in terms of like the battle, in terms of this fight, is religion and government. Yeah. And Republicans do not have any regard for the separation of church and state at all.
That's a scary concept too.
Well, and then you have a lot of Republicans who don't even think that should be a thing.
Yeah.
Like I have an aunt who's in the States and she doesn't think there should be a separation of church and state. And it's like, are you insane?
Wow.
Obviously she's Christian.
Totally
so what happens?
What they do is they do this thing where, like, well, the literal words separation of church and state don't appear in the Constitution, because, and that's true. But that's not how things work. Like,
originally, the Constitution was written as a what do you call it? It was a non-religious document. It was secular. Right? The Constitution was originally secular. It didn't address religion because it had no place to.
Well, it did build a wall of separation, but that was just how like Jefferson described it in a letter, and that's where the term separation of church or wall of separation came from. It's not literally in the document, but still there's the free exercise clause, there's the establishment clause, like it is all there. It just doesn't. That's their Tea Party bullshit argument now. And the Tea Party is kind of dead, more or less, but that was the argument back then, and it might have a different name, but it still exists, which is the literal words aren't there. And not only that, if not that argument, there's still just a blindness to it. Like, there's a complete blindness to what it means to incorporate religion into government, and the only way they ever see it is if the Church of Satan or whatever comes along and says, "Oh, this is the law you want? Okay, cool. We'll have our Satan church then teach to your kids," or whatever the law is. Like, wait, hold on. We didn't want that. And then it's like, yeah, exactly. You don't want one religion imposing their will on the people.
Done,
like, that's the whole point. Yeah. So it's very frustrating. Or if you say, like, if you change God with Allah, like in a given law that they propose, it's like, okay, so is that okay? And they're like, well, obviously not. Like, don't you get it? It's not okay. That's why it should not be there. And that's not even like an atheist thing, like other denominations benefit from not having to have one given denomination dominate everything.
Absolutely. So you yourself, obviously, you're very active in the community and you do a lot of good work, and we thank you for that. But what piece of advice would you give to some of us that are a bit too apathetic to do something about the situation? Would you give
I reject the premise of your question. I definitely don't think I'm doing much in those terms. I think that there are a lot of people doing a lot more in terms of actual activism. I've always been more of like an ideas person. I just love discussing ideas and thinking through them. But I will say that I think the Freedom from Religion Foundation, now again, that's an American thing. Awesome. I don't know that there's any Canadian presence for that. Is there? I don't think so.
Yeah,
but,
actually, there is. I think there's a chapter. Okay. I think there's a chapter in Ottawa.
Oh,
really? I think so.
Really? Okay, I know there is Recovering from Religion. There is. Yeah. It's gone international, but I didn't know if the FFRF.
They probably don't. They probably don't have as much work up here.
For my American listeners, that would be like. I mean, really, we just spoke to Andrew Seidel. We have him on Opening Arguments from time to time, and like, I love the work he's doing. I just think it's, in terms of it, and again, it just depends on what you want to prioritize. Because honestly, if you're just looking to help people, what I do is I go to like givewell.org and I just look like, okay, for my dollars, how many lives can I save? And it's not going to be any Christian thing. It's not going to be any atheist thing. It's going to be, we need to give some mosquito nets to somebody in some place that you don't know. Like if you're looking to do like the most raw good, but it's fun. We don't really operate like that. And for better or worse, I think there's upsides and downsides. But I think that what the Scathing Atheist guys do with Modest Needs, I think that's actually a really good charity as well. There's a lot of good charity work people do. I never feel like I can contribute to that. I mean, I contribute money to it, but I've never done like a charity drive myself because for some reason I just don't feel like I have enough people to do that. I don't know why. I don't know what reason it is. I just always feel like it'll go flat and like no one will donate and then it'll be an embarrassment. So I never do it. But other people do a lot of good charity stuff and I just donate money to it. I usually donate a ton and get Eli to say something. But no, I think that it's all, especially, this time of the year, I'm blown away by how generous everybody is, atheists, Christians too, but unfortunately a lot of their charities are bullshit and actually proselytize people. But there's, people are really good. A lot of people are really generous at this time of year, and they'll donate a ton to just help people out, and it is really cool. And so I would recommend, like GiveWell or If you're worried about specific issues like Freedom from Religion Foundation in this day and age for Americans is really crucial, because I think the latest thing that Andrew Seidel, this is a little, I guess, hint into Tuesday's episode, but he came on and talked a bit about they were trying to not have Trump's nominees go through, because he's nominating judges that are just nobodies.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I am more qualified from just hosting opening arguments to be a judge than these people. And it's really good work that they do. So I donate to that. I donate to some other things, but I'm not one of those cool people who's like arranged a charity drive, because I always just feel too self-conscious about it.
That's awesome. Well, Thomas, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. But the mic is all yours, my friend. Be shameless. Go ahead, plug yourself. Give it up.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate the invitation. And yeah, SeriousPod.com if people want to check it out. And Opening Arguments, you just search either of those shows on whatever your podcasty thingy is, and that's good for me. I really appreciate you guys inviting me, and also 12 or 15 people on your show that can
but
all be a part of it.
I'm gonna shamelessly push another of your podcasts that's really interesting. If you wanna, I know you do Comedy Shoeshine, which isn't anything political really or atheist. It's just kind of you guys shooting the shit, which is really fun.
Right. Well, I'm glad if you enjoyed. That's good. I don't usually push that one as much because like it's literally just me and my brother joking.
Yep.
And
hey,
absolutely awesome.
In the world right now,
people love it. I think it's a love-hate thing. It's either you will not get it, or if they're the people who do are like hardcore fans. It's really funny.
I can't believe you haven't shown this to me yet, Christina.
Yeah, there's a lot of
She's a
podcasts I
total
haven't shown
groupie,
you.
obviously.
I know.
She's a total groupie.
Yeah, but that's sort of our it's sort of a darker humor in a way, because we just I don't know, we talk about just what it's like to be alive in this day and age, really,
Awesome.
and to be depressed, to have certain I don't know. There's a lot we talk about, but we're both two depressed people, and he's my brother's got a lot of anxiety and stuff, and it's like Seinfeld, but a little darker.
That's probably why I enjoy it, because I also have depression and anxiety.
Yeah. It's but it's also just random stuff too. Like it's just, I love that show, but again, I feel like it's more of a selfish endeavor. So I feel like my other ones are more informative for people.
So the shows are Serious Inquiries Only, Opening Argument, and Comedy Shoeshine. I highly recommend you watch them all. Thomas, thank you so much for being with us on the show. But before I let you go, I have to get you to say, "Hi, I'm Thomas Smith of Serious Inquiries Only, and I took a left at the Valley."
Okay, sure. I will do that. Hi, I'm Thomas Smith of Serious Inquiries Only, and I took a left at the Valley. Or is it in the Valley? What did you say? I didn't
That was perfect.
That was beautiful.
Awesome.
That was beautiful.
It's left at the Valley.
And we're paused.
Okay.
And we're paused. Perfect.
That was beautiful.
Damn
Well,
it.
I hope being
paused
with
it just
us
a bit
made
too
you
quick.
feel better.
Yes. So Thomas, thank you so much for this. We'll probably post this show either today or tomorrow. I'll send you a link. Feel free to share it as much as you want. You get some friends up here for north of the 49th, my friend. If you ever need to, you want to come back or say.
If you ever need to escape from America.
Yeah, that's right.
We're pretty
how does the
open up here.
citizenship work up there?
Well, you got to remember two things. We have stronger beer.
Hey, but no, you like hockey.
Yeah, that's
You'll
right.
fit
I
in.
love hockey.
And
You gotta
My
prefer
Sharks
hockey
just
over
lost in overtime to the Canucks.
And I'm going to say this, for an American to cross the border into Canada, it's really easy. Pick any farmer's field along Zero Avenue
Yep.
from here to Vancouver, and you can just cross right in, and nobody's even
Yeah,
going to
but
question
I
you.
do kind of want to be, eagle about
They won't
it.
even
Like,
question you. They'll just accept you as one of us.
Yep.
do you have a Trump refugee program? Because I'm not even
Probably.
joking. If he gets reelected in 2020, I will just fucking move to Canada.
Actually,
I will.
they do. They've said that any American that wants to come across, as long as you can show your credentials of who you are, come on
Okay.
over. You're welcome.
Actually,
2020, it's a date. Everyone.
Yep.
there's on a serious note, there are actually a lot of people, Haitians,
Yeah.
that are crossing on the eastern part of the country right now. They're escaping the U.S. because they're afraid they
Huh.
might be sent back to Haiti.
Oh,
and
interesting.
they're coming in the middle of winter, right?
yeah, they
Across
pick-
like
they
huge
pick the-
fields, and they're risking frostbite and everything
Yeah,
for
they
it.
picked. There's a special spot where I guess a road ends, and there is no Canadian side to it, or there's a Canadian side but no American side to that.
Mhm.
And they're walking across, and suffering frostbite. People are dying. The
Yeah.
RCMP have set up a special camp for them there to accept them into Canada, and
It's so odd, right? Especially when you were talking about Thomas about atheism and all that. That they have a very secular constitution in their country, yet their country is like one step away from becoming a theocracy half the time. And we actually have a preamble to a divine being in our constitution, but our country is like
secular.
way more secular.
Yeah.
Way more.
Sorry, you can't wear a hijab.
Yeah.
You'll have to come up
that's
here, Thomas.
interesting.
You'll have to come up here.
Yeah, 2020, it's a date. Set your calendar.
Got it.
Hang out. If they don't, let's see. Where does anyone live? Because I'm trying to think of the hockey teams I like. I like. Toronto's looking good.
Wait. You like Toronto?
They're looking good. Well, they
doing good
took.
this year.
They got Patrick Marleau from my Sharks. So, and they got. They got some exciting.
Well, right now we're
So
all
here we are. I'm a Sabres fan, right? Like that's.
Oh yeah.
What?
Well, what's your rookie you got recently? Was it Eichel or no? What's the
I'm
Sabres?
not sure. I haven't been following it this year.
American politics is currently our national sport.
Yeah, following American
this
politics.
is so funny because this fits the pattern of literally every time I talk to a Canadian, they know nothing about hockey. Like and the teams, they know not. Like they're like, yeah, I don't care.
You're just talking to the wrong ones of us.
They're on to us. They know the secret. We've been fooling you guys with this forever.
We're all just pretending that you like hockey. Well, how do you get all the players then?
Yep.
Somehow you're generating all the players, but
we have
nobody
actual hockey programs in our schools.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Send football programs.
Yeah.
Thomas, thank you so much for your time, sir. I certainly appreciate it. We'll let you go now, and like I said, we'll send you the link as soon as it's ready and on the air. And
I'll share it out.
Awesome.
that's
It
fantastic.
was really, really good having you on.
Feel free to come back whenever you want.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thank you so
You're
much.
always welcome here.
It's very nice of you. Have a good weekend.
You
Thank
as
you, sir.
well.
You too.
You too.
And happy holidays too.
Yep.
All right.
I know. Nobody move.
Nobody move.
All this is funny because the
Where
recording
does he live?
California.
the recording is paused on the audio recording, but we're still live on Facebook, so they're kind of seeing the behind the scenes.
Oh wait,
at the same time.
are there people listening now?
Well, there were.
Oh come on,
Uh,
Facebook.
There were, and I got to kind of wink to Corey, who's been flirting with me on Facebook.
Oh my!
I'm
Is that the ping?
Yes, he's
Flirting?
sending me messages.
Aw.
Ping!
And you're worried about my mustache brushing the microphone?
I know, right? Ping!
I'm worried about you falling asleep again. That's
Is
what I'm
Corey
worried
still
about.
there?
So-
Is the
so
person still there?
So we're
That's
going
flirting?
to have to appear on Facebook rather than have you looking out into the dead air saying.
Well, the thing is, every time you're talking, I'm looking at you. So because the camera can only point at me, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So if I was to install a whole bunch of cameras, which I'd love to do, but
You hogging the camera, Kevin.
well, there's only one.
Just put
camera.
my face in front of it. I'm sure more people will come.
You probably would.
Yeah, I don't think we can all crowd into where one camera.
Oh.
You'd have
You'd
to
be
turn
amazed
the
how
camera.
many people
put
you
us
can get in
all-
front of one camera.
You put us all in one spot with the microphones, and then you turn the computer around.
Yeah.
So that
But
The
I don't
camera's
know. I
facing
mean, we'd have to be like scrunched.
But then I would have to wear actual clothing.
Yeah,
are
because
wearing
she's
actual
naked. We just
clothing.
don't know
I was
people.
going
Yeah.
to
She's
say, yeah,
actually
we do
naked.
that. We do
Hey,
this naked. every
I
week.
I enjoy
Naked
being
left of that.
skyclad. Okay, guys, what can I say?
Skyclad?
Yeah, it's the term for naked in like pagan.
Well,
all right.
Skyclad.
There goes our secret that we've done this naked
Okay.
for 4 years.
We still have a show to finish, people.
Oh,
Right, and I have to go to work.
Show.
This
Show?
will finish it.
We're in a show?
And that was Thomas Smith of Serious Inquiries Only.
Woo-hoo.
What a fantastic interview, guy! That guy.
He's
Love
a
him.
really
What a
enjoyable
really
to
nice,
talk
what a
with.
really nice person. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
contrary to what he says, he does a lot of good work
Yeah,
for the community.
there's a lot
just to
of
show by
things
himself.
that I didn't know before listening to both of his podcasts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like there's so much stuff that he goes into that I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Thank
Oh,
you.
No, exactly. So if
And
you're,
I
if you're
didn't have
learning
to watch
already-
the red pill because he broke it down. I didn't want to watch that movie.
I'm not even sure with that. I haven't seen that thing either. So
The red pill, it's to do
Yeah.
with feminism
okay, that's cool.
Good guess.
and men's rights activists and how feminism sucks. And I'm like, nope, not watching it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show, guys, today. And thank you to Thomas Smith, our guest. You can follow us at leftotvalley.com. You can follow us at on Facebook like you are right now, hopefully watching, or you can follow us on Twitter at LATV Podcast. You can send us an email, leftatvalley@outlook.com, or you can follow our solo sister show, So You Think You're a Skeptic, with our friend Tyler. That's usually on Facebook Live as well. You look like you want to say something.
I was going to say, thank you for putting up with us.
I don't have much of a choice. This show would be really boring.
Listen, thank you. Kevin?
What?
Just thank you for letting me get my nap in.
Yeah. So, guys, if you watch the show over and over, you might be able to hear randomly. Yeah. So go find it. Easter egg, guys. Go find it.
Well, this was our last interview of the year. Next week we'll have our Christmas special.
It's almost sad.
No, well, we'll try to make it nice, and we'll have a bit of some of the history of Christmas and some of the nice positive stories about Christmas, and we'll try to make it jolly, holly, whatever.
We're going to have eggnog?
I still have eggnog.
Oh. Is it the chocolate eggnog?
It's the chocolate eggnog.
Gross.
Oh, what?
I don't like chocolate.
They're never happy.
It's so good.
You know, I give them cookies, coffee, and eggnog. They're not happy.
I don't like
I'm
mint.
happy.
There's
This
no
is why I
pleasing
drink.
some people.
Nope.
And for the end of the year, we're also going to close with our best of 2017. So I'm just going to leave it there.
Our choices.
We're working on a whole bunch of stuff for next year. So
It's going to be fun.
it is.
And go read Harry Potter, guys.
It's always
Harry
fun
Potter.
when you're
Go read
on
it.
Left Valley.
Definitely. I've read them.
You all of, like, seriously?
Seriously. I bought them for my son.
That's awesome. Which
So
one's
I
your
could-
favorite?
Flip
My
the switch,
favorite?
Go
Yeah.
out of here.
This used to be a nice atheist show.
Hey, Harry
I
Potter
think
is
it
a
was-
great atheist book, okay?
Honestly-
It's proven that your children will become less racist if they read it.
Thank you
I
guys.
think that my son, when he got the first
third's
book,
the
and
best.
I read the first book. The first book was the best for me.
Third's the best.
Guys, I think Kevin wants to actually end the show now.
Yes.
But we're not ready yet.
Until next time.
Something to be ashamed. I'm an atheist. I'm an atheist. I'm an atheist. I'm an atheist. Now let me take a sec. Don't mean it sounds so hateful, but I swear to God, pun intended, I find it disgraceful that thousands of children are raped by priests, and since they're holy men of God, they get away scot-free. And the Pope does his very best to keep it on the hush. Don't wanna affect business, he loves money too much. We know that they love the kids, but how the fuck can we protect them while they planning to molest them? We teaching them to respect them. Fuck that. The system is broke down, working backwards, and the only action or tactic I plan to practice now is to attack them. The parties of God's hands are blood-stained, millions of murders by believers, and they're all in God's name. And let me take a sec, don't mean to sound so hateful, but I swear to God, unintended, I find it disgraceful that many atheists are told to be quiet. You're not alone, speak your mind, time to let it be known. I'm proud to be an atheist, a skeptic, a non-believer, an infidel, a heathen. I call it how I see it. I say it's ignorance, and you just call it faith and unsubstantiated claims. That's something to be ashamed. I'm an atheist.